ninth largest area in the world. A symbiosis of East and West. A country of great opportunities, bright impressions, everything you wanted to know about Kazakhstan, important notes, useful routes. In the program, Routes and Notes. So, Charyn Canyon, a couple of hundred kilometers to the east of the city of Almaty, almost on the border of Kazakhstan and China, and you find yourself in the realm of mind-blowing landscapes, where Her Majesty the nature has an exclusive right. The river flowing through powerful ancient deposits, wind, rain, these natural entities for more than 12 million years, like the most talented of the architects, created truly amazing masterpieces. Anyone who has ever been here falls in love with Charyn Canyon unconditionally. The landscape stays long in the memory, and there is hope that one day he will come back here again. The power of nature is fascinating and even perhaps somewhere frightening. Here you feel like a small grain of sand that can get lost forever in the beauty of these amazing mazes. And by the way, these feelings are very justified. They really can be easy to get lost, so it is better not to travel lightly. Moreover, there are popular legends that are passed from literally one generation to another. Legends of Charyn have a persistent paranormal root. We will tell you about a couple of them a bit later. For now, let us share with you some technical information about the nature of this great creation. Its length dimensions are something around 200 kilometers. The height ranges from 100 to 300 meters. At the river, there are inaccessible rock walls, and vertically above the sedimentary rocks, which became working material in the hands of natural sculptors, or maybe even architects, wind, water, and sun. Together, they have built these fantastic landscapes, which are popularly known as the Valley of Castles, for example, or the Gorge of Witches, well, or Stonebag. You have to agree, it's not very romantic, but believe me, everything is justified. According to some data, the emergence of Charyn Canyon belongs to the era of the Paleogene. The geological age of these landscapes, 10 million years. That is, the beauty of this existed long before the appearance of the land of our ancestors. And again, it is an occasion to once again remember the majestic power of nature around us. Well, actually, if we talk about the rest of the living creatures, in these places there are quite a lot of them. A fox, corsac, hare, mountain goat, weasel, ermine, jerboa. There are gazelles, a stone marten, polecat, palace cat, and the Central Asian otter. The diverse and local inhabitants of Sky, there are more than 200 species of birds, including long-tailed tit and black stork. Here you can find listed in the Red Book the owl, golden eagle, cum, bearded serpent eagle, vulture, sacred falcon, imperial eagle, and booted eagle. But beneath your feet you can see many species such as lizards and snakes. But you don't need to worry. It doesn't mean that everywhere you look you will see an abundance of animals. It's quite the contrary. To see someone from the world of fauna is a downright adventure, and it is all because the tourists are traveling here through a certain path and animals apparently are trying to avoid them. Looking at these charming canyons, your eyes perceive them, of course, as the miracle landscape, but at the same time they are deprived of any biological diversity. Believe us, this is exactly the case when we can say that looks can be deceiving. There is an abundance of vegetation. something around 1,000 species, which are impressive because many of them are from the Red Book. And vegetation is very different, because the zones of deserts and large Tian Shan mountains are in contact here, and surrounded by blue rivers. That is why it is quite comfortable to different types of vegetation: the steppe, desert, forest, meadows, and even swamp. Well, the main star of Charyn flora is, of course, ash grove. It is located in the river valley. This relic miracle has the status of a natural monument and carefully guarded. Because the ash is not simple. The Sogdian ash is one that has gone through all the disasters ever happened on planet Earth. Imagine how throughout tens of millions of years, a variety of animals and plants born and degenerate, and Sogdian ash doesn't care, it exists. Although today it exists only in a few places on the planet, and therefore even though there are only several thousand hectares of ash grove in Charyn, it really is a miracle of nature, and it is necessary to touch it once in your lifetime. Because today this plant is dying away for its extremely long life in our land. It is related to endangered species. And since we're talking about the past, we want in just a couple of words mention that in Charyn Canyon, through a rare combination of a number of geological factors and interesting location, you can find the remains of ancient relics of now extinct types of fauna and flora. Very often, Charyn Canyon is compared with the famous American Grand Canyon. Of course, an overseas analog of Kazakh version is much bigger. But despite the size, let's talk about the beauty. And the beauty of these wonderful gifts of nature are absolutely equivalent. They're both mesmerizing and cause awe, and stormy game of imagination. Though every imagination may contain a drop of absolute reality, who knows? So gradually we came to tell you a couple of Charyn stories. One of those you should definitely know when you arrive here. Number one in the top of the horror stories, the disappearance of people. The disappearance without a trace, without the presence of at least some fragments of their remains. According to popular versions, the guilty ones are the red wolves living in these fishnet rocks. They don't have many of the flock, as the female of the fiery red is almost unable to breed. And so they kidnap people, not in order to turn them into dinner, but to turn them into themselves and thus keep the number of their flocks. So we recommend that you think twice before you turn alone around the corner to admire the beauty, hidden from the rest of the travelers in your group. Story number 2, according to its degree of horror, and this story contains all the worst, but it is already behind us. Well, the story of the 40 witches who lived in these valleys in ancient times. People say that witches lured men travelers with their magical songs to the highest tops of the rocks, and after that they would throw them away. What was the interest? Perhaps is only known to the witches themselves, but they were doing this evil thing for centuries, until one of the butters came face to face with this tricky situation. Batyr had a charmed holy whip. With it, Batyr sent all the marvelous singing witches to a better world, but at the places where they lived, witches left their spell. You cannot stay here after sunset. This is a story, and no matter how unrealistic it seems, even today in the 21st century of high-tech, tourists do not like to stay in Charyn Canyon after the sun disappears below the horizon. Not many people decide to stay here after the sun sets. And you know you cannot blame travelers for such cowardice, because the night noises and all other sounds in these rocky labyrinths are really frightening. And the wind in these canyons, you know, is a downright sinister, reminding whether the howling of red wolves or the angry cries of long-dead witches. It seems that they're hiding behind rocks and are watching you. By the way, the cause of the terrible howling wind has a scientific explanation. The fact that the local rocks, consisting of sedimentary rocks, has a lot of small holes. In fact, it is a huge natural wind instrument. In general, a night in Charyn is not the phenomenon for the faint of heart. And at the same time, the night in Charyn is perhaps the most surprising thing only nature could create. This is the beauty that is really capable of saving the world. But this spectacle we'll save for dessert. Charyn Canyon is one of the most popular tourist sites of Almaty region of Kazakhstan. Kazakhstani tourists love to come here, as well as foreign tourist groups can be seen here very often. Especially Charyn is loved by the photographers, which is absolutely understandable. Such beauty, that plays with a variety of hues and moods, depending on the time of day, is something that is impossible to miss. Charyn Canyon is a big set of forms. Numerous ravines, winding, intersecting, and redivided lowlands, upland, plains, tracts of sand, slopes, numerous terraces, caves, grottos, bizarre rock singles. And of course, Charyn River is the main waterway, the largest left-bank tributary of the Joly River, the river of mountain type, which origins are much above the snow line. And so, even on the hottest days, it carries the invigorating coolness, and you can relax on its banks on foot taps on the rocks. Just peace. It gets very hot here. The local climate is sharply continental, with all the ensuing consequences. In the middle of summer, the heat is around 50 degrees, and in the middle of winter, almost the same number with a minus sign. That's why it is better to come here on the border of the spring and summer, or summer and fall. Then you will be able to fully absorb all the life-giving power of natural energy, which may be enough for many months ahead. You will feel the incredible values of this corner of the earth, which is impressive once and for all. You will be fascinated by its beauty at any time of the day.